Hey everyone, so today is March 16th and it is my 18th birthday. I wanted to do something a little bit different for this video. I wanted to reflect back on my 18 years of life and I wanted to do something titled 18 Lessons to My Younger Self. I looked back on every year and as best as I could, I decided to capture it in one phrase or one lesson. So obviously for my first couple years of life, I don't remember my life, but I tried to encapsulate it as best as I could, whether that be something that my parents told me or kind of just reflecting on what was going on during that year. So for my lesson number one, I decided to title it, Your Parents Will Forever Be Your Number One Fans. This is something that throughout my whole life I've realized, but obviously my parents were there since birth, and that's something that I will forever be grateful for. They're constantly showing me their support in everything that I do and in every moment of my life. So lesson one, your parents will forever be your number one fans. Okay, so for year number two, this was roughly around the time that I started walking. So for this one, I said step by step, take a breath. And obviously I meant it like in the literal form because I just started walking. But in my everyday life, this is something that I can really take into account. Sometimes I want to already be running before I am walking. So just realizing that I need to take every day step by step. And if there's life stressors, just being able to take a breath and realize that I didn't start running, but I had to learn how to take step by step every single day. This one's a little bit funny, but for lesson three, I titled it Just Keep Swimming. This was right around when my parents put me in my first swimming class, and ever since I was little, like if you know me in person, like I'm very like stuck in like what I want to do and stuff like that, and I'm very opinionated and just like I put my opinions out there. I'm very straight to the point and blunt. So when I started my first swim class, usually they like grab the kid and you throw them in and then you have to like figure out how to swim. She did this to me once and it made me so upset, and on the second time she went to go throw me in, I grabbed this lady by the hair and I literally just started screaming. So that was a very monumental moment in my life. So I titled it Just Keep Swimming. Obviously, I was learning how to swim, but just continuing through my everyday and pushing through even when the waves come my way. Title 4, Don't Trade Your Passion for People. As I grew older, that was something that I traded in because of people's opinions or because of what people said. But dance has always been my first love. Dance has been always my passion and something that I genuinely like love. And just reminding myself that I don't have to trade in something that I love because of people's opinions, because it's not their life and it's not how they express themselves, but it's for me and it's the gift that the Lord gave me, and that's something that I need to hold on to. But for year 5, I did You Can Do Anything You Put Your Mind To. Going back, I know I literally said to not change your passion for people, but right after that I quit dance for karate and I did that for a while. But karate was like a lot of discipline, and I feel like that was my biggest takeaway, is that I can truly do anything I put my mind to. I was so determined to get those different colored belts every single time, to break that piece of wood, just things like that. I feel like I started setting goals for myself since I was so little, and that is my big takeaway. I can do anything I put my mind to. This was right around like kindergarten or first grade, so I wrote, it's okay to stand out or stick out of the line sometimes. I've always been like pretty tall for a girl. I mean, it's not like that tall, but like for everybody around me, it's like around like 5'3", 5 foot. So I've always been a little taller, but I feel like in elementary it was so much worse because guys didn't like really grow until like middle school. So it was literally like everybody, me, and then the rest of the line. But honestly, I feel like that's just a good lesson to recognize that it's okay to stand out sometimes. So right around 7 years old, this was the year that I took my first missions trip. And honestly, growing up, I feel like I was a very privileged kid. Like Christmas were so extra, like gifts upon gifts. I lived in a huge house, and I feel like I was very privileged growing up. Especially, I feel like being an only child, I feel like all the perks like went to me because it truly was only me. But this was the year that I took my first missions trip, so I titled it, "There's a whole world out there that doesn't have a plate of food tonight, yet still has a smile on their face." I feel like this has forever impacted me because obviously like I hadn't seen the other side of like the world. I hadn't seen a side of poverty when I was little. I didn't see kids who didn't have toys and stuff like that. But being able to go on a missions trip and literally play Jenga with bricks. One of my friends that I still talk to her, we literally made a dress out of a trash bag because there wasn't anything else. But being able to see that at such a young age completely changed my perspective on how I lived my life. I remember coming back from Colombia and I packed up a whole bunch of toys and I was like, no mom, like take them because it's not fair that I have so much when people out there have so little. So that was my biggest life lesson at 7. So this was kind of a phrase that my mom told me since I was little, but I feel like it didn't hit me and I didn't really understand it until right around 8 years old. So it's friends come and go. This is still something like to this day that is still something so true. But I feel like during this time, like we were growing up and then everybody was changing classes and nobody was in the same groups anymore. But that is a life lesson that I have really stuck with, and being able to understand that friends are for a season, and each friend might not be a friend that you have for a lifetime, but the friends that you do have in each season, it might be to teach you something, it might be to build your character, but each friend is going to be there for a specific reason, and it may just be a season. Look at those bars. And it might just not be a lifetime. But yeah, so at 8 I learned that friends come and go. Okay, so I feel like from here on my life lessons go like, and they get like a little bit darker. But anyway, this was probably around when my mom got diagnosed with her pancreatic tumor. So for 9, my life lesson is life isn't promised. Hug your loved ones a little tighter. I feel like my mom was in the hospital. My immediate reaction was like to kind of push her away, because if I did lose her, I didn't want to like feel that pain or have that image of her being in the hospital. So my immediate reaction was to not hug her or not be around her. But now looking back, the one thing I could say is that if my mom would have passed away at that moment, I definitely would have regretted not hugging her. So my life lesson is life isn't promised. Hug your loved ones a little tighter. So for this next one, as a cause of everything that was going on with my mom being in the hospital, my dad wasn't having any work, and obviously the hospital bills were a lot. We ended up losing our house. For 10, my life lesson is home isn't a house. Like I mentioned before, like growing up, I was a very privileged kid. But when you go from that, like shift from having everything to having nothing, it really teaches you not to value what your home looks like, but really the people in that home. So 10, home isn't a house. So growing up, I feel like I was very, very close to my family. Like literally, like my grandma and everything used to live like right across the street. But as I got older, that kind of shifted, and I am no longer close with my family. But right around 11 years old is when that kind of shifted for me. But the Lord knows everything. And as my family was kind of transitioning out of my life, people were brought into my life. And these are people that I truly call my family. Even now, like people that I grew up an only child, so people that I needed that I can call sisters now, even though they aren't my blood. So for 11, I wrote, family isn't defined by blood. Although I may not be close to my true family that share the same blood as me, I do have people that love me just as much. So around 12, that was right around middle school, when I was transitioning into like middle school, like right around 6th grade. And I feel like during this time, this is when kids get like really cruel. Like they're just honest, a little bit too honest sometimes. So this was right around when I started kind of getting like bullied, and people would make a lot of comments, about like my size and how I used to look and everything like that. And I feel like those are words that really marked me and really did hurt me. So for 12, I wrote, words hurt, but don't let it silence you. I feel like because of how many comments were said, it started changing who I was, and like it still affected me even till now. Like I know deep inside I'm an extremely like outgoing person, like I love speaking to people, but because of how many comments were made, I feel like it affects like the way that I think. So now instead of going into a room and being like super outspoken, I'm more to myself because I'm scared that people are gonna make a comment and that those words are gonna mark me just as much as they did before. But I'm starting to overcome that and starting to believe that that's not who I am. So as I mentioned before, in like my phrase about being 12, because so many comments were made that made me extremely insecure. I literally, like, my confidence level was a speck on the floor. Like I had absolutely no confidence. Like it was extremely bad. So right around 13, that was when I feel like my first like attention from a guy came in, and I immediately jumped at the opportunity of being able to feel something and feel like I was pretty or feel like I was loved. So for 13, I wrote, it's not real love, keep waiting, because now I have the most cutie boyfriend in the world. And I would just like tell my 13-year-old self like to wait, and that none of that is worth it, because the Lord is preparing like the right person for you. And as much as like it might feel good to have that attention in the moment, it's not the correct person.
This is my cutie boyfriend for everyone who doesn't know.
What's up, player?
For lesson number 14, this is around the time that I transitioned from a private school to a public school. I went to a private school from like 4th through 8th grade, so I wasn't exposed to like a lot of things. So when I transitioned into high school, it was like a huge shock. And I feel like because I wasn't exposed to everything like that, there were so many like voices like trying to tell me what to do and try to make me fit in and everything like that. So I wrote, don't trade your relationship with God for temporary friends. All the people that I look at that I was like friends with during my freshman year, like I truly don't even follow on Instagram anymore. So if I would have continued living like that and just trading my relationship with the Lord for something so temporary, honestly, like I truly think I could have lost my salvation because of the peer pressure, because of wanting to feel cool in high school. And like now, like as a senior, like I truly hate high school. High school was the stupidest experience of my life, and I wouldn't trade my relationship with the Lord for something so temporary. 15, my lesson is please never stop dancing. So this was right around the time during quarantine, and because we like weren't at it, we weren't like even dancing at all because we were obviously stuck in our houses. I honestly was just gonna give it all up and just kind of quit. But this goes back to my lesson number 4 that says don't trade your passion for people. Dance has always been something that I loved, and I know and understand that. But in that moment, I honestly just wanted to quit and give up. But if I would have done it in the moment, I would have missed out on so many cool life experiences, like now being at the studio that I'm at, meeting all these people, and even going into like this next year, moving to Texas, and just how the Lord has been opening up so many doors. And if I would have quit, I would have been giving up on a gift that the Lord has placed in me and placed in my heart. So obviously for me, it's please never stop dancing, but for you, it could be something completely different. Whatever the gift that the Lord has given you, fill that in. Please never stop, I don't know, singing or playing the piano or whatever it may be for you. Don't let the world take that away from you. If it's your passion and you know it's something that the Lord has called you to do, please never stop. Okay, so for number 16, I'm just gonna go in with the lesson and I'll give a backstory right after. I titled it, the number on the scale isn't your enemy. So as I mentioned before, like I was very like bullied, and like comments were made like a lot about my size, but right around transitioning between 15 and 16, I went through an extremely big like weight loss, but I feel like that caused me to kind of look at the scale in a very negative way instead of it being something positive and being like, wow, look what I've accomplished. I feel like it turned into something so negative for me, and that's still something that I'm trying to work on, realizing that the enemy isn't the scale, but it's truly just the enemy putting lies in my head and making me believe that I'm wrong for fully eating a plate of food or eating an ice cream or stuff like that, and like if I wake up a pound heavier, then I'm like bad for it. But realizing that these things aren't true, that the scale isn't the enemy, it's just the enemy wanting me to believe things that aren't correct. Okay, so for number 17, it is very short, sweet, and straight to the point. I titled it Your Peace Comes First. So honestly, this last year, it was extremely rough, and so many things were trying to take my peace, so much drama, so many just unnecessary things that were trying to steal my peace. But if there was anything I learned during this last year, is that if it is taking away my peace, it needs to go. My mental sanity, my peace, just being able to be in an okay place with myself and the Lord is more important than anything. So number 17, your peace comes first. So for this last one, it's something that I've been learning, I guess, the last couple of months being 17, and this is something that I'm going to take into being 18. It's just learning that change is okay. I feel like so many times I have such a type A personality, so if I plan something, it needs to be that way, and it needs to be perfect, but in reality, it's not that way. And just learning that whatever changes life throws at me, being okay with that and learning how to make the best of it. Even though at times it may not be what I planned, knowing that it's okay to just let your plans change every once in a while. So yeah, for number 18, I decided to title it Change is Okay.
18th birthday. Oh my gosh, I'm an adult now.
Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I just wanted to do something a little bit different and meaningful. But yeah, I just hope at least one of these lessons help you in some way. These are all lessons that I would have loved to know, like when I was each of those ages. So I hope if like they impacted you in any way or helped you in any way. But yeah, I just wanted to do something a little bit different for this video. Happy birthday to me. So realizing that my home realizing that my home isn't home because of that.